The Mochi-yu Onsen village is sleeping. Under the soft watch of a full, milky moon, the world has turned to silver and shadow. The deep indigo sky is dotted with a few gentle stars, and the air is cool and clean, smelling of damp earth, night-blooming jasmine, and the faint, citrusy scent of yuzu from the hot springs. Listen, you can almost hear the quiet hum of the world at rest, the soft gurgle of the onsen water, the whisper of steam rising to kiss the moonlight, the gentle rustle of bamboo leaves in a breeze you cannot feel. Everything is peaceful. Everything is still. But wait, not everything. From a cozy burrow beneath the main bathhouse steps, a tiny nose appears, twitching. It is Mochi, the little guinea pig. The quiet magic of the moonlit world has called to him, and he cannot resist a small, secret adventure while everyone else is dreaming. He takes a soft step onto the cool, damp wood of the boardwalk, his tiny heart full of gentle curiosity for the sleeping world around him. Mochi pads silently along the boardwalk, his little feet making no sound. He peeks around a glowing paper lantern and sees a familiar, comforting sight. There, soaking in the warmest part of the spring, is Kabi-san. The great capybara is a mountain of peace in the steaming water. The moon makes the fur on his back shimmer, and the little yuzu fruit on his head looks like his own personal, tiny moon. Kabi's eyes are closed to gentle slits, his face a perfect picture of calm. He isn't asleep, not really. He is just being part of the warm water, part of the quiet night, part of the rising steam. Mochi feels a wave of warmth and safety just by looking at him. He knows that no matter what, Kabi's steady presence means everything is all right. Mochi gives a tiny, happy sigh that turns into a puff of vapor in the cool air. He feels brave enough to explore a little further, knowing his wise friend is near, holding the quiet center of the night. He continues his journey, venturing past the familiar circle of lantern light and into a quieter, more shadowy part of the village path. Here, the moonlight paints everything in shades of silver and gray. The air is a little cooler, carrying the scent of moss growing on ancient stones. All the sounds he knows are here. The distant water, the breathing of the forest. But then, a new sound. It was not a rustle. It was not a drip. It was a tiny, soft plink. Mochi stops, completely still. His whiskers twitch, sampling the air. His small, round ears pivot, trying to catch the sound again. It was so small, he might have imagined it. He waits, holding his breath. The world seems to hold its breath with him. The moon watches. The steam pauses its gentle dance. Then, he hears it again. Plink. A sound like a tiny, polished pebble dropping onto a leaf. It is a sound that does not belong to the deep, sleepy rhythm of the night, and Mochi's gentle curiosity pulls him forward, one slow, careful step at a time. Following the sound, Mochi rounds a corner where a great willow tree dips its branches towards the ground. And there, in a perfect circle of moonlight, he finds the source. It is a frog, but the tiniest frog Mochi has ever seen. It is the size of his own paw, a perfect little jewel of emerald green. It sits very, very still in the middle of a dry patch of wood, far from the life-giving dampness of the ponds or streams. Its throat pulses gently, but it makes no sound. It simply sits, looking up at the vast, silent moon with its big, golden-ringed eyes. The frog doesn't seem scared, just misplaced, like a dewdrop that has landed in the wrong place. Mochi takes a soft step closer, his own round eyes full of wonder. He has seen many frogs by the water's edge, but never one so small, sitting so alone, so far from home, in the quiet heart of the night. Mochi sits down, tucking his paws beneath him, to seem as small and unscary as possible. He lets out the softest sound he can make, a tiny, questioning "weak." It is the sound he uses when he finds a particularly sweet blade of grass, a sound of gentle discovery. The little green frog doesn't move, but its sides pulse a little faster. It blinks one eye, then the other, a slow, deliberate movement. Mochi tries again, a series of soft, rumbling purrs from deep in his chest. He inches a little closer, his nose twitching. He can smell the clean, fresh scent of pond water on the little creature, a scent that feels out of place here on the dry wooden path. He looks around. The nearest pond is a long walk away for such tiny legs. The frog seems to be listening, not to Mochi's sounds, but to a silence Mochi cannot hear. A quiet question hangs in the air between them. How did you get here, little one? And how do you get back? Mochi knows this is a puzzle too big for him alone. With a soft squeak of apology to the frog, he turns and scurries back the way he came, his heart beating a little faster now with purpose. He finds Kabi right where he left him, a statue of serenity in the steaming water. Mochi chatters, a fast, high-pitched story of the tiny green frog and the dry path and the moon. He explains with squeaks and wiggles and frantic nose twitches. Kabi listens, his calm unchanging. He doesn't open his eyes fully. He doesn't move his body. He simply takes a long, slow breath, letting the steam swirl around him. Then, ever so slowly, he turns his great head and makes a low, rumbling sound. He dips his chin, directing Mochi's gaze not with a word, but with a look. He gestures with his nose toward the ground. Mochi follows his gaze and sees it. A winding silver trail where the steam has condensed on the stones. A path of moisture that glitters like a river of stars under the moon. Mochi understands instantly. Of course, the frog doesn't need a map. It needs the feeling of home. It needs the cool dampness on its feet. Kabi's wisdom was not in words, but in seeing the world as another sees it. Feeling a new sense of quiet confidence, Mochi pads back to the little frog. It is still there, a tiny emerald statue in its circle of moonlight. Mochi doesn't use sounds this time. He walks to the edge of the glistening moisture trail, the silver path Kabi showed him. He puts one soft paw onto the cool, wet surface. Then he turns and looks at the frog, giving a gentle nudge with his nose, not at the frog itself, but at the air in front of it, showing it the way. He waits patiently. After a moment, the little frog seems to understand. It gathers its tiny legs beneath it, preparing for a journey. The dry wood was confusing, but this felt like the way home. And so their journey begins. The little frog takes its first hop, landing with a soft, wet pat on the silver path. Mochi gives a quiet, encouraging rumble. Then they find their rhythm. Mochi takes a few slow steps, his round body swaying gently. He pauses, looks back. The frog takes a hop, 2 hops, catching up. Pat, pat. Mochi walks. Hop, hop. A slow, gentle parade of 2. They make their way along the winding trail of moonlight and water. Mochi's soft purrs and the frog's occasional happy-sounding ribbit are the only sounds. A tiny symphony for an audience of 1 moon. You can almost feel the peaceful repetition, the soft weight of Mochi's footsteps, the light as a feather landing of the frog. It isn't a rescue. It is a quiet, shared walk between two friends in the middle of a magical night. Each step, each hop, is a small, perfect moment of kindness, stretching out into a beautiful silvery line. The silver path leads them to the edge of a place Mochi knows well, the sleeping lotus pond. Here, the air is thick with the sweet, heavy scent of water and night flowers. The surface of the pond is a perfect black mirror, holding the moon and all the stars. The little frog stops at the water's edge. It looks at the dark, cool water. It looks back at Mochi. Then, it lets out one last soft ribbit, a sound that feels like thank you. With a graceful leap, it lands on a large lily pad, where a small cluster of other tiny green frogs are sleeping. It hops once more, and nestles in among them, instantly becoming part of the quiet, breathing tapestry of the pond. Mochi watches until he can no longer tell which one is his new friend. He feels a deep, quiet happiness settle in his chest, as warm and comforting as a sunbeam. The night's small task is complete. The world is back in its perfect, gentle balance. Feeling very sleepy now, Mochi makes his way back. His adventure is over. The path is quiet again, the silver trail already starting to fade as the night deepens toward dawn. He finds Kabi has moved from the water and is now dozing on the warm planks of the bathhouse deck, his great body radiating a gentle heat. The steam from the onsen still rises around him like a soft blanket. Mochi doesn't need to say anything. He simply pads over and curls up in the warm, safe space, right beside his giant friend. He rests his head against Kabi's thick, warm fur, which smells of water and wood and endless patience. Mochi closes his eyes, listening to the slow, steady rhythm of Kabi's breathing, the sounds of the onsen, the scent of the night, the warmth of his friend. They all blur together into a perfect lullaby, and as the moon dips below the mountains, two friends, one very large and one very small, sleep soundly, dreaming gentle dreams